Being a business owner, whether you are just starting out, a fledgling, an experienced business owner, or a long way down your journey, it can be really challenging. You are wearing all the hats, and sometimes you don't know what help you need. You don't know what solutions you are looking for until you find them. And information overload is real, and it can be so daunting with the ever-changing environment that we live and operate within. That's why I created Conversations with My Go-To Experts. Just an excuse, really, to talk to the fabulous people that support me, that are with me, and that I think are pretty awesome. Now, they give you the light bulb moments that you need. Now, if we've not met before, my name is Lindsay Burden, and I'm an intuitive business coach. I almost couldn't say that. Inspiring, guiding, and motivating my clients to create wildly successful businesses and a magnificent life. But enough about me. I couldn't say enough then. Enough about me. Today, I get to talk to Ellcie Moore, and I'm so excited to be speaking to you, the business co-pilot. How are you?
I'm good. I bet I'm more excited than you are.
Now, Ellcie and I have known each other a long time, so we're going to really try and focus and stay on track because anything could come up in conversation. And we are actually recording this on the day of the election results. So we won't mention politics or anything today, but it does feel like a momentous day. But enough about politics. Ellcie, you are the business co-pilot. Now, I've had a little peek at your website. So you offer personalized, and I liked that a lot, support to business owners and to help them in their businesses to achieve their goals. And I really love that because it makes it about your clients, isn't it? It's about helping them to achieve the goals that are really important to them. And the other thing I wanted to just pick up before I give you an opportunity to tell us a bit more about your business, and I'm looking down at my notes to make sure I get this right. So you focus on order management, sales, and ops. But tell us a bit more about your business, Ellcie, and your journey, even if you feel like sharing.
So it's a bit of a journey. So the business itself has probably been running for about 3 years. Did have a little break in the middle, which we'll come on to later. But a lot of people had similar experiences through COVID. I was in an employed position, absolutely loved it. Loved the work that I did, the people I was working with, the products that we were selling. It was just that big family feel, and I've been really privileged to always have that in every role that I've gone into. And I think it's really important because life is quite short, relatively speaking, and we spend a lot of time at work. So yeah, enjoy what you're doing is important. Yeah, COVID happened, didn't it? And everybody went their own version of bonkers in trying to manage it all and homeschool. And a lot of the company had been put on furlough. So the workload was increased, but with less of us there to manage it, and just this really weird dynamic of uncertainty. And it just felt like it was the right time for a bit of change. The company was probably not going to go back to the same version that I'd experienced before. So I kind of set about trying to find my next perfect job because I wasn't going to settle for anything less. It's not about the financial side of it or the job title. It was about the feel of it, all the energy levels and the right people. And I couldn't find it. Of course I couldn't, because everybody was out there looking for work. Bless them, their people have been let go. And so I kind of set about creating it myself and finding the right people to work with myself just by speaking to different business owners and then seeing where's the connection, the right energy levels, and oh, we've got a lot of common ground here and you want to do something, and I love helping people to do stuff, so let's pair up and go and do it. And yeah, I just started off more with a virtual assistant theme to the business initially, and then things just naturally kind of transitioned back towards my real skill set that I'd honed through the employed world of sales and ops, and bridging together those two departments to make it a better journey for not just customers, but also everybody within the business as well, to make it fun.
Oh, we like fun. And for anyone who doesn't know what a virtual assistant is, there's somebody that works virtually, tends to, well, I was going to say tends, it can be in any area of your business. It might be marketing, it might be general admin, but if you haven't heard of the term virtual assistant before, it's somebody who works for you virtually, tending to give you time back in the business.
Yeah, they tend to be your right-hand person. I would quite like, there's a Stephen Bartlett interview, it's probably very old, but I've listened to it again recently, and he kind of credits his PA, same thing, just in person, with being the person that keeps him and his business running. Kind of one of the most important tools in the business is somebody that can just keep you on track and going. And I think it is a very, people in support roles can tend to talk themselves down. They're kind of always the bridesmaid, never the bride by choice. We're very good at it, but it is a vital role, and pairing with the right person to do it can really unlock something special in allowing you to do more.
I think that there were two things there. I might have to write them down, otherwise I will
Get the pen out, get the
forget.
pen out.
One of the things I was going to say, not to go back to 2020, 2021, and the bonkers time that, globally we experience, but I think it also there were wonderful things that came out of that time, because just like you did, you went, hang on a minute, I'm going to have to create my own perfect job. So it almost enabled you to do that, or created the circumstances. And I think that's the same in businesses. A lot of businesses started to see how they could work differently. And I almost used that word pivot, which was so overused in 2020 and I really don't like. But it gave businesses an opportunity to go, okay, how can I work differently? How can I work more efficiently and effectively? Yeah. So there were some wonderful opportunities there. And the other point I wanted to pick up on and go back to, talking about the right hand person, and that's the person that keeps you moving forward and on track with your goals. I think for me, that's why it's so important. If you're looking to outsource, be really clear on the elements of the business that you need or want to outsource, and find the right person. Because it's not, that piece for me is, I think that's what held me off actually employing my first right-hand person. She happens to be a right-hand woman. Would you agree with that? Do you see that sometimes, and then of course people go, well, it didn't work. No, it doesn't work because you're not clear. Do you see that?
Yeah, I think there's often, I was going to say, two reasons it doesn't work initially. There's probably 1,000 more than that, but we'll stick with two. One is that clarity of what it is that you need to hand over, or what you want to hand over, because they're not always the same. You might get the shoulds about it. Well, I should give this to someone, I should give that, but actually I quite enjoy this, even though it's a mundane task. It's your business. If you enjoy doing that invoicing, because it's like that kind of reward for the work I've done throughout the month, keep hold of it. You don't have to give it to someone else if you don't want to. Yeah, so it's the skill set match, what needs to be done, but I do also think it's the readiness.
Okay.
That I think people put a lot of pressure on themselves. I'm busy, I need to outsource something. It's actually quite an emotional thing to hand over the keys to your car, the hand over your baby that you've worked so hard on to somebody, and to fight the urge to sort of micromanage and oversee every element of it, and kind of give the person that you're bringing into your business to support you that autonomy, to know that they're going to make good choices almost with your brain in their head.
Yeah.
Right? What would Lindsay do? Okay, that's my motivator for getting there. And it takes a while to build it, it does, but I think that kind of connection piece, but you have to be ready and have found the right person to do it. So don't, if it doesn't feel comfortable yet, perhaps wait a little while until it starts to feel comfortable, or try it.
See what happens.
Yeah.
I think there is another thing, isn't there? It's not working yet. And the expectation is that they will come into your business and they'll know your business and they'll know you, and they'll be you almost instantly. And I think sometimes and it does take a little bit of time to embed. The same as if you employed someone.
Exactly that.
I read somewhere it takes 6 months to see a return on an employee, a minimum of 6 months. It actually takes longer, really, realistically. So I think we forget that piece as well. And that's really important when you're bringing someone into your business, that you need to spend time with them.
Yeah, I think there's whenever I have a sort of introductory call with somebody, or we're starting that onboarding process, it is incredibly important to be clear on the fact that this is going to feel a little bit worse before it feels better. And you've hit the nail on the head. If you look at any time that you've been a new employee or a new employer in previous life to running a business, it drains your time more onboarding somebody before you start to feel that lovely flow. But there is this wonderful moment where you just go, oh, look at that, I've not thought about this for months, because it's just happening now. But it takes time. It will be a little bit sticky and uncomfortable, but I think as long as you're open to the fact that the way that you communicate the information you share, and we've got tools that I use that are to do with making sure that all of the resources that I might need access to are considered and set up before we start working together, so that that's available. And again, it's all those things that if you're doing it all yourself, you don't realise how many different tools you're using and things that people need to have access to.
Now, you actually focus, and I said this at the beginning, on order management, sales, and ops. And I think this is a really good example of where I don't know what to outsource. I don't know what I need. And actually, that is very specific, actually.
Yeah, yeah. I think the reason, and people often kind of ask, like, but which is it, sales or ops? Because they're sort of deemed different ends of the process, if you will, within a business. But it is both, because if there is not a lovely smooth bridge or plug in that gap, gluing everything together, the experience that the customer has and that the people within the business have as a result of that is not going to be particularly pleasant, because they just drop off this, okay, we've had this brilliant conversation with the people that have managed our sales, that onboarded us, and then we've fallen into the abyss, and then we get spoken to again when the product or the service is ready and bills are due and things like that. And it's that bit in the middle that the communication piece is really important. And it's sort of almost the empathy part of understanding each end of it, of how you can glue it together and actually make those teams work together more fluidly and enjoy it all a bit more.
So are you it sounds like you're not just the co-pilot, but you're the bridge.
Yeah, actually, I work in an aeronautical theme too.
I know.
Bridges.
We'll see if we can come up with any more flying analogies very soon.
Someone more creative than I will have to come up with a name for it.
Okay, so I always ask for a title or a subject, and we've got here, okay. So the title is How to Get the Right Support for You and Your Business. Now, one of the key things here, and you wrote this down on the notes here, is systems, processes, and support are not a one size fits all. So tell me a little bit more about what that means.
There's a lot of people out there, especially on good old social media, who have very strong affinities to a certain product, whether that's a CRM or an accounting system or a method of communication, and will push certain products or ways of doing things because it worked for them. They will give a really hard sell onto, this is what you need, this is going to fix every problem you've got, before they've gotten to know you, your business, the team of people that you have working and using those tools. I think it is incredibly important, and I love that people are passionate about the tools that work for them. Yes, absolutely. Sing about the joys that you've found, because it will help somebody else. But do it in the correct context of, this could work for you if this is your way of thinking, if this is your processing method. Are you visual? Do you like a list? Whatever it is. But it doesn't, there is not one answer. So because somebody recommended something and it doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean that there isn't a version of that that does work for you and feel good. So don't feel disheartened trying one thing. CRMs are a prime example. There's so many of them out there, and it is a bit of a minefield, and that's where the likes of Stebbington come into it, and they can go, yes, this is the one for you. But it's about understanding what you want from it, what you need from it now, what you would like it to do for you in the future, and does it have the capability to get you there? Or are you going to have to look at changing again in a couple of years? Is that cost effective? There's so many things to consider, but it's not just use this one. It should never be that, in my opinion. It should be somebody getting to know your business, getting to know you and what you want, what your dreams and goals are, and then recommending the tools, the processes, the systems that can get you there.
You said something really interesting there, and I talk about this with clients. I talk about it across, I was going to say social media. I don't spend much time apart from LinkedIn, not really on other platforms. There is what I notice and I see is business owners are looking to fix the problem in front of them, and they don't step back and remind themselves, connect in with where they are going. And when we only fix the problem in front of us, we potentially create problems in the future. And I think that's also where someone like you can come in, because you will make them go, okay, so what are my goals? Because you're going to be asking the right questions, because you're tailoring your services. If we're just using you as an example for a minute, you're going to be asking those questions. Do you come across that?
Yeah, it's twofold, isn't it? I'll be asking the questions, which kind of plants the seed then of, oh yeah, that's right. We this is a today issue. Okay, maybe actually doing it manually for 6 months then enables us to have the breathing space to go, what do I want from that in the future? This is the correct thing to have moving forward. And that time piece, and it's sort of frowned upon now to kind of say, well, what do? I create time for people in their day to think more. But there is an element of it. You know, I'm not a wizard with a magic wand, magically making time kind of, an extra few hours in the day. It'd be nice if there was, but having that mental capacity, it's not just the time because the task is done, it's time because the task is being done well by somebody that is invested in you winning, is a weight lifted, and that just sparks that thought of, okay, well, what do I need to look at next? Where am I going? Where do I need to be going? And I think I love working with people that have got a coach or a mentor up ahead of them, challenging that other end of it, because that's a great little sandwich there of that kind of creative or skilled person in the middle running their business that knows their craft so well, somebody that can help unlock and challenge what's ahead of them, and me behind going, okay, this is how we can facilitate that happening. Off we go. I think it's a great combo.
I love that, of having that combo of really someone helping you unlock, as you say, what's in the future and what are you going for and what your goals and ambitions are. And you put on your notes here. So it's systems, processes, and support are not a one size not one size fits all option. If I could get my words out, it's because I'm laughing. Nor do they have to be as boring as they sound.
I know, because they do sound really boring, don't they?
They do, but I think that's part of the problem. And I've certainly picked up on a few things in my own business where I go, if I just had written down a system, it would be so much, just put it down. But I think everyone goes, oh, systems and processes, it just feels really boring. And they go, I don't know where to start. And I think if you are, that 3-4 years in, you may even be thinking, well, systems and processes are for the big guns. But that's not true, is it?
No. There's also, I think there's quite often, for when you're in that size of business, that feeling that, but there's too many exceptions to manage, so a system couldn't possibly do it. And we're all completely get that. And the flexibility of being able to manage those exceptions is often what gives you a brilliant reputation of being a great service provider. So you don't want to lose that by any means. A system shouldn't be so stringent, or a process shouldn't be so stringent that it stops you being able to manage exceptions. What it should do is facilitate time and brain matter to manage the exceptions, because those that do fit into the lovely rule of process are managed without taking up too much time and energy. And that then allows you to look at those exceptions and say, okay, is it right for our business to accept this exception in? Yep, great, okay. I know I'm going to have to handle it manually through the process, but it's worth it. And we take it on. So don't write it off because you have a lot of exceptions in there. Also, don't overcomplicate it. A process is literally sales process, for example. You maybe have a one-to-one with somebody or an introduction with somebody, and that's almost the sort of trigger to, if they've shown an interest and want to engage with your services or your products, that's the sort of trigger to it. Everything you do next is a step in the process. It doesn't have to be, just because you've not yet put it down on a process map, guarantee you still have a process. Even if you're not consciously doing it, it's that kind of subconscious competence kicking in, doing the do. That's your process. And if you were to hand it over to somebody else, that's how you tell them to do it. That bit that's as complicated as it needs to be. You just need to challenge it every now and then and ask if it is still serving you for today and will it serve you for tomorrow, to make sure that you're not doing something because that's what we've always done. But yeah, if it's boring, you're not going to look at it. You're not going to want to do it. Weirdly, I like it because it's a challenge. There's something in it where I can kind of get my teeth stuck into it and try and make it a bit better for other people. So yeah.
There was something you said there, I think. So anyone who's listening who's at the beginning of their journeys, 1, 2, 3 years, if you're starting out, definitely do this. I think we often keep everything in our heads. And when I mentioned a minute ago, I've noticed a few things that I know that I do in my head. And I'm like, I just need to get it down on paper. Get your process down on paper. Even I did some training the other day, and this person was talking about their process. They picked up a piece of paper and it was handwritten. So please don't think it has to be any more complicated than that at the beginning of your journey, certainly. But if you write it down and then you're following it, I think people are more more easily able, that sounds a bit complicated in itself, but can see more quickly where the kinks are, where it
Yeah.
feels a bit clunky, where and how they can smooth it out. So start with it in that simplistic form, and you'll be able to develop it as your business grows. So I think that's a really important message to get across, actually.
Yeah.
That doing the do, as you said, that is a process.
Yeah.
Write it
Yeah.
down, because you will have a better chance, I think, of developing it as your business grows. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also try and put if you can put your Ellcie brain in, don't do that too often. It's not recommended for many people, bless you. Why am I doing that? Just challenge it each time you write something down. Why do I do that? I do that because without this bit can't happen. Brilliant. That's got a valid point to it. Why do I do that? Because if I do that, this bit can't happen. Why do I do that? Oh, I'm not sure anymore because we don't really get much feedback from this, so perhaps we don't need to do it anymore. And just why yourself, get your annoying child inquisitive brain in, ask why to everything, and it just helps you to, and if you can answer, if there's a logical answer to every level, you've nailed it. You are spot on. Don't change it. Keep going with it.
That's the other point we should pick up, actually. With information overload, which I absolutely believe is a thing, if your system or process, and there is a difference between them, if it's working, just because this all sparkly, lovely thing over here has come along, doesn't mean to say that you need the all sparkly thing over here. And I think that's part of the challenge that we have in this world that we live in, where everything's available at our fingertips.
Yeah, yeah. And it might be that you will need it in the future, but does that mean it's a good use of your time, energy, finances at this point in time? No, put it down on the ideas list for the future, come back to when you need it.
I like that.
Absolutely. But don't hold on to it for today. Let it acknowledge, yeah, brilliant thing, admire it from afar. Doesn't mean that you have to marry it and start using it straight away.
Um, just really quickly, so there is a difference between a system and a process. How would you describe that difference?
I love this conversation because it does, sometimes it gets quite emotive because people have different views. I do think it's often how you've been educated on it through
Okay.
your kind of journey. So some people do have different definitions. For me, the process is what you do, the steps that you follow. If you were to draw it all down, they would all link together and you get from A to B. Beautiful, that's the process. The system is the tool that you use to get there. And there will be multiple systems. It will be your inbox, it will be file storage, it will be social media and different bits, your CRM, your accounting. Those are the systems. The process is what you're doing.
Actually, in my head now, see, I love that you've done that. I knew it was a good question, and it might be really helpful, particularly at the beginning of your journey. So if you're mapping your process in this column, you can note the systems that you might be using, could be using, or would need in the future.
Exactly. Yeah. If you get into kind of in companies that I've worked with in the past, sort of larger scale production of physical product and ingredient materials in behind it, when doing the process maps there, it was, it was kind of the trigger, the action, the action, the action, the action, the outcome. The next layer would be the system that was used to do that. So yeah, inbox, CRMs, whatever they might be, all the different technical tools. Next layer to that was the people, the department that had ownership of it. And so it kind of lays down the process is almost like the starting point. And then you
I
layer
see
down
now.
system and people and
Oh, look at you getting me all excited about processes and systems. So
see,
now
isn't it
I've got a
fun once
table
you're
with
in?
3 columns and I've got people on the end. But this is what I love. I think we so often think that these things work for the big organizations, the big companies. But if we can find a way to bring it into our businesses, particularly if you're a solopreneur, if you're thinking, well, I don't have a person, you still may need that column in the future, or it
Yeah.
might help you see where you need a person.
Yeah.
So yeah, a
I think
table with 3 columns, processes, systems, people. You know what I'm going to be doing this afternoon?
fabulous. What other Friday activities could you possibly dream of, I wonder?
What? Well,
But
actually,
yeah,
getting my hair done, but
yeah,
that's
oh,
something
lovely.
else.
Yeah, yeah. Going to the pub.
Now,
But I do think if you haven't got a person yet, that's a really valid point. Perhaps in there, if you're in your early days and kind of thinking of, dreaming of where I want to be, who would that be in the future? If you had different pot of resource available to you to have a team in there doing it, would that still be you? Or would it be somebody else? Because that's always nice to have one eye on in the future of, I want to keep that bit, but this bit would be, it kind of gives you that nod of to who that next level of support might be. Is it sales focused? Is it finance? Is it marketing? Is it strategy? It's just a nice little nod of, actually, I like doing these bits. These bits I'd be happy to pass on to somebody else.
This is turning into a strategy masterclass on how to work your business smoothly and efficiently.
Who knew?
Oh, I think we probably knew. Now, I always ask my guests if they would do anything differently.
Oh, I was nervous about this one, Lindsay.
If you started again, and you did right. Oh, this is a juicy one. You're as bad as me. I even say, when I'm asking Chat GBT for a little help, a little inspiration, I always start with please.
No, it is technically there's a no in there because it does skew things over politeness. I can't help it because if the AI takes over, I want them to know that I was always polite and courteous.
Do you know what? You are the second person in 48 hours that said exactly the same thing to me. Yes, we want to know that, we want AI to know that we're the nice ones because we said please and thank you.
Also,
Yeah,
my
so
mother would be proud I was dragged up well. I can't help but have the manners in there.
oh dear. And back on, right? Because this is a juicy one. And I told you, we're supposed to have you said earlier, it's supposed to be fun. Business is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to be having fun. Okay. I loved this because you actually have said that you don't think you would do anything differently. You needed to learn those lessons, and that's why, because you needed to learn the lessons and you're incredibly grateful for them. And I don't think anyone's ever written that before when they've answered this question for me, and I just thought there was real power in that. And that's a really great message for us to get across to anybody, whether you're starting out, whether you've been in business 5 years, 10 years, those lessons are so valuable, and that journey is invaluable to us, isn't it?
It is. It's painful in the moment.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. When the lessons are being learned, sometimes they're not almost the most comfortable, and sometimes I don't see the value in them. I say sometimes, most of the time, I don't see the value of them in the moment. However, when I've started to work through them and get past them and I've learned something from them, then I'm grateful for them happening and I wouldn't change it. But it's okay if in that moment when something's going wrong, you don't appreciate it immediately. That's okay. That's just being human.
I was going to say, that's just human. We're okay with that. Okay. There was something in here, and you've alluded to it. You kind of mentioned it earlier. You said, I'm not sure I would make the decision to accept the job offer that took me away from the business. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Because I think we all get times when we go, I just go and get a job.
Yeah. So I wasn't looking for work. I wasn't at all looking for work. In fact, the business was doing incredibly well at that stage. But I had somebody that I'd worked with in the past came and let me know about a position they had and would I be interested. And at that point, we were looking to move house, and the mortgage man was going to be far more generous if I had a salary versus having been quite early on in my business journey. Husband's also self-employed, so it was sort of practical factors, and it was a great job with people that I knew I loved working with because I'd worked with a few of them before in a different company doing the same thing that I do now, just in an employed world. So it facilitated something for our family. So I don't regret the choice. The people I've worked with were amazing. The lessons I've learned were incredible and really do apply to everything I do today still. So I didn't take a complete shift. But I can't help but wonder where the business would have gone had I not taken that step out of it for 18 months and then come back in and rebuilding things now. And again, I can't change it. I wouldn't change it because if I changed it, we wouldn't be here having this conversation. But you can't help but wonder where it would be. So it's just,
I think that wondering, because I have been, and this is a whole different episode, and we really haven't got time, but I've been thinking a lot lately about mental load and the decisions that we make and how external factors, particularly for women, no offense to any gentlemen listening, and it does apply to some gentlemen.
yes.
I don't know, I call them gentlemen.
We
Does
assume.
apply to some men. That sounds a bit more manly, doesn't it? But I think women have a much greater mental load. And that's a really great example of where you made a decision that actually was the right decision for what you wanted to achieve and
Yeah,
enabled you to achieve that goal. But it does kind of then I can see where you go, where would I be now? What would it look like now? And I think women particularly have this challenge around, particularly if you're have children or you're a carer or
yeah.
have other responsibilities, that mental load. And I sometimes feel that pull and think, if only I didn't have children, or only didn't have X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, but the responsibility, I suppose, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
yeah, if 20-year-old you who had a little bit of rent to pay and maybe a slight bit of finance on the car, but nothing really above that, their choices would be very different to the choices that we make now when you've got larger mortgages and council
yeah.
tax and all that jazzy stuff on top of it. But yeah, the mental load thing is really interesting, and yeah, I think definitely one where I'd love to pick your brain more on that one.
We could discuss that one. And it's really interesting, isn't it? How when you start to think of it, so if anyone's out there going, I need a new CRM, I guarantee every type of CRM will be coming your way. Everyone will be talking about it because that's how it works. So when I've been thinking about this mental load, somehow a young man is in my LinkedIn feed almost daily. I'm not connected to him, I'm not following him, I don't know, in his 20s has this incredible business and is traveling the world. And he's saying, I think everyone should do this. Da, da, da. I'm like, you haven't got a mortgage and 2 kids, have you? So I think it's quite interesting what I am seeing. And because that's an example of someone who doesn't have the mental load that I have,
Yeah,
regardless of the fact that I couldn't really hop on a plane and start. His only requirement is a good internet
yeah,
connection.
yeah, and brilliant. Like, good on him, and good on him for encouraging other people
Yeah,
that are in his place in life and have that ability
yeah,
or that option open to them to explore it and not assume that you can't do it because you
yeah.
need to run a business. Good on him, but absolutely, there is a stark difference in those two places, aren't there? In those two
And
ways of
you've,
doing it.
yeah. And the way you've said that, I do have to look at it and go, and I have to go, in my head, I'm going, and he's ever gone, and then I go, but what an incredible thing to do. What an incredible experience. And what he's going to learn on his journey
Yeah,
is just going to be outstanding and
yeah,
set him up for the rest of his life.
yeah.
So I have to do that little moan and then I go, but
Yeah, no,
bring,
that's natural. Also, can I go and live in the van wherever you are? Like, is it
yeah,
nice? Are you on a beach somewhere, just waking up, seeing the sunrise? Because yeah, that I could get a little bit jealous of if I let myself think about it too long.
yeah, I think that's why I have to scroll back. But why? And it just keeps appearing, and I'm like, just stop reading here. Just stop reading the
The
post. But
universe is telling you something.
yeah, I'm genuinely interested. But I'm like, just stop reading the post because every now and then it makes me go, yes, but you don't have 2 kids. You haven't had to do the washing and the ironing this morning before you got to the desk, have you? School uniform. Oh, Ellcie, it has been absolutely fabulous talking with you today, as I knew it would be. And I think there are so many other topics that we could discuss. And I think there is something there about this mental load that we all face for different reasons, and not just women. I will put that out there. There are plenty of incredible single parents who are men, and men who have other responsibilities.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm sure we could do a whole you know, a whole program on that with
yeah.
25 episodes. But thank you so much. Now, if anyone would like to find out a little bit more about you or would like to connect with you, where do they go?
So website is probably the best one, elciemore.com, or come and find me on LinkedIn because I do live there quite frequently. Yeah, just if you're a fabulous person in business or not even in business, just a fabulous person, love to have a chat with you about what you're doing and talk to you about different ways that you might explore that might make life a bit easier for you.
And I will make sure that those links are, as the kids would say, below this video. Ellcie, you have been an absolute star. I'm
Thank you.
already looking forward to our next conversation. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.